My guest tonight has been the face of women's U.S. soccer for over a decade. Due to her fearless play, impeccable instincts, and trademark header, Mary Abigail Wambach has been a dominating force on the field since she was 5 years old. As her talent grew, so did her achievements, including a national championship win her freshman year in college, 4 Women's World Cup appearances, 2 Olympic gold medals, and the most international goals scored more than anyone ever, man or woman. But before Abby became the FIFA World Soccer Player of the Year, did you know she scored 27 goals in her first 3 games as a little kid, played on an all-boys team for 5 years, and tried to pursue a college scholarship for basketball. Tonight we learn what makes this undeniable icon who she is. A woman who once said, "It's a heavy burden to look up the mountain and want to start the climb." Please welcome 2015 World Cup champion, Abby Wambach.
Hello.
It's such a pleasure to have you here. You know, we've had so many unique guests, but I think you really cut above the class, and we're going to get into the reason why. But I'm interested in the early years, growing up in Rochester, New York, and what that was like, the youngest of 7.
Yeah. You know, it was almost too perfect of a childhood. That's me. I have never seen that picture as long as I've lived.
We have great contacts here at this show. You have no idea what's coming your way.
That's hysterical. You know, my mom and my dad, they had the system set in place, and my father ran a store, a farm and garden business, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And after their 6th child, my brother Andy came down with meningitis as an infant. And so my mom, who's Irish Catholic, she said that was the good Lord's way of telling her that was, you know, their time to stop having children. So I think I was the pleasant surprise. But you're really a perfect childhood.
What kind of parents were they? Were they tough? Were they loving? Were they a mix? What was it?
I would definitely say they complemented each other really well. My dad let my mom do the disciplinating stuff unless you were really in trouble, and then my dad would step in. But my mom, she really raised us. My dad worked his tail off, and that's the truth. He would go to work and come back for dinner every single night, and that was really important to my mom, and it was really impactful for me, and something I want to be able to do with my kids is to always remember to come home at night and dine together, to be together, to talk about your day, whether you had a good day or a bad day or whatnot. And it was hard because, of course, I sometimes think about how I've been able to achieve so much success in my career on the soccer field, and I think in large part there's something deep inside me that I just want my parents' attention, because there's so many of us. I probably didn't get enough attention growing up from the people that I wanted and needed it the most.
I'm sure it was quite a way to grow up, and I'm sure in large part was the reason why you were as tough as you were growing up.
For sure, and I think that's, you know, and they all take the credit for it, by the way. They're like, yeah, we were prepping you for becoming a pro athlete as a young kid, but I didn't know any better, you know? I just wanted to play with my brothers and sisters. So I just tried everything I possibly could try as a young kid, and even if I wasn't really quite old enough to be successful at it, and that is who I have become. I've learned from so many of my brothers and sisters' successes and failures, and I think that that's so valuable of being one of the younger children, not only because I was able to have the experience of, you know, losing a lot, of dealing and getting my competitive nature built up from a young age, but I really have been and created my personality in and around my family.
I read where you were 2 and you jumped off a diving board in the pool and then were dog paddling across the pool.
Yeah, like I said, again, my brothers and sisters did it, you know, and so I was like, I can do that, you know, and that's how I've always been. I am an extreme personality. I'm all or nothing, and it's because I aspired to be like all of my brothers and sisters.
So during these years, what is your introduction to the game of soccer?
One of the cooler stories I think about my family is the way in which my family kind of got into soccer. My sister Beth wanted to learn how to play when she was younger, and her friends were playing. So my mom went to the public library and they literally checked out a book of how to play soccer. Like, that's like how that happened. Like, that's how soccer...
Like soccer for dummies, kind of.
Yeah, basically. But that was before dummy books were, like, real. It was like this little book. I don't even know if my mom still has it. It would be kind of cool to look through their attic. But I always find that to be a pretty funny story, that my family and our introduction to the game. But, you know, when I was 5, I got on this rec team, and I scored a bunch of goals in 3 games.
Like 27.
Yeah, 27.
Let's just put a number to the bunch.
27, and my mom was like, well, we're going to have to move her somewhere, you know, and challenge her, because it was really important to my mom that I wasn't always going to be the best player on every team. And I compliment her, and I think that she did an extremely amazing job at putting me in good environments, not just in terms of coaches, but with people and their parents, to help shape my character and the way that I approach the game.
When you were scoring 27 goals in 3 games, I'm a parent, I have daughters. Did you sense any of the other parents like, hey, can she pass? Or is this just Abby's show?
Well, I think that they put me in goal after I would score 9. And I think there's a funny story. My mom said, you know, this is gonna make me look so bad, but I was 5, you know, like
It's okay.
I don't know any
okay.
different. You know, my mom said, well, Abby, why don't you pass the ball, maybe let somebody else score? And I was like, why would I do that? Like, the whole point is to score goals, right? And she was just like, oh boy, here we go.
Well, at 9, you talked about how your mom wanted to keep you kind of pushed. 9, you go play with the boys. What was that like?
Well, to be honest, it was great because it challenged me quite a bit, you know, and the physical nature of how they played was exactly what I wanted to do, because I'd been playing with my brothers my whole life. You know, getting grass stains on my jerseys and stuff, like, that's the stuff that I really loved. And learning how to go hard into a tackle and not wince and not flinch at all, that's the stuff that I feel was invaluable in terms of learning as I grew up, and then transferred that into the women's game.
No doubt.
You know, it's huge, and I definitely have been lucky that I haven't had, you know, knock on wood, that many major injuries in terms of joints and whatnot. And I think that I very much attribute that to playing in a physical environment growing up.
From what I understand, you heard comments by other parents of kids in the league when you were with the boys, hey, don't get beat by a girl. It's funny to say this because it doesn't say, I'm much older than you, but it doesn't seem like it's that long ago.
Right.
But I'm not so sure that flies today. We were talking like early to mid 90s, like 94, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And that was something that you were aware of, that not only was it don't get beat by a girl, but take her out.
For sure. And that's definitely something. And for the first bit of the time that I was in the team, I definitely was one of the first ones picked, you know, because back then you'd line up and two guys would pick the teams, and I would be one of the first people picked on the team. And as you get older and like all the hormones and like the weird stuff starts to happen in like their almost teenage years, you're always picked last, no matter if I was good enough or not.
What's that doing to you? How does that make you?
Oh, it's firing me up because I'm gonna school them. Like, I'm not scared because I've been my biggest critic, and I know how good I can be. I know what I do well, and I know that I was one of the best players on the team, and it just fired me up even more. especially for the team that ended up picking me. You know, I would.
They were happy to pick last.
Yeah, right,
we got
exactly.
Oh, good. We got
yeah,
Abby.
Exactly. But then as time went on and the guys started to develop more physically, I wasn't able to keep up with the pace, and the physicality became a little bit dangerous. And I think that's a reason why my mom chose to switch me back over to playing with the girls' elite teams.
There was a seminal moment for you in the state championship game in 1997. Your team, this tight team, you're there, you've got it in your hand, you're up 3-0, it's soccer, goals don't come that fast, it's pretty late in the game, and then what happens?
Yeah, God, you know, I hate this story.
Right.
You know, I can now say this is the only championship I've never won, the state championship game. And, you know, you think you got it in the bag. It's 3-0. You're like, we've got this. I'm going to win this championship. I'm going to get my name up on that gymnasium wall, which was my whole goal in high school.
It's a big deal.
Because my sister Beth had won a state championship, and I saw her name, always saw her name, and it was so infuriating that I could never be up there, you know? And Massapequa scored a goal, they scored another goal, and they put their best player back on, and they equalized, and then they went on to win, I think, in double overtime. And that was me. Pretty sad. and you may notice that there's like snow on the ground. This is in Hornell, New York, and they had to snowplow the AstroTurf field, right? This is before field turf, the little rubber pellets.
Right.
The stuff
Which we know you're a huge fan of anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is like legit AstroTurf, and yeah, one of the biggest heartbreaks of my life to this point, you know. And I'm 17 years old, about to go to college, and this was my one last chance of winning
getting
the
on the banner.
Just getting up on that wall, man, on the gymnasium wall. And this was a moment that switched my mindset in life, and it made me know that life is not always perfect, and it's never about what happens. It's never about the failures. It's always about how you react to them. And I learned that. It took me a while to get over this. Actually, I'm not really quite over it. But it actually made me more competitive, and it fueled a fire, and it burnt something in me that, I don't know, there's something humbling about having goals and setting goals and going after them and not accomplishing them, because that's real, you know, and that's real life. And up until this point, you know, I was going to go to school on a full scholarship, and people knew who I was in Rochester, and it was as if, you know, my life was just perfect.
Why'd you pick Florida to go collegiately? Because you could have gone anywhere, and at the time, Florida really hadn't done much.
There's something in me that, like, loves to be an underdog and loves to beat, you know, to beat Goliath. I think that there's something so great about that. And we beat UNC in the finals to win the national championship my freshman year. And we came home, and I just was like, well, this is going to be an awesome college experience. We're going to win a championship every year. This is going to be great. Well, we never won another one. So I got back to the Final Four my senior year, but that was the closest we got.
So at the same time that this is all going on, women's soccer is not huge in this country, around the world. But the timing all kind of came together because 1999 happens, and that's when the casual fan started learning the name of Mia Hamm and Randy Chastain. And, and this is going on in '99. You're in college, and now the fire's kind of starting to get lit. Let's remind what '99 was like.
She missed a penalty kick against China in the Algarve Cup, and they lost that game.
I can't imagine what that's like. And there's the famous shot of Brandy taking her jersey off. But I can't imagine what that's like for a young woman as yourself, such as yourself, in college playing soccer.
I mean, I literally, I like still have the chills. I still get the chills off of that moment, because that moment is not only iconic for women's soccer, but that moment was iconic for women in sports. That put women in sports literally on the map. Like, hey, look at us. And you know, it makes me laugh because Brandy was probably the most fit looking person on the team. And so for her to rip her jersey off, it made everybody it made everybody think that everybody else looked like her. And yeah, of course, there were some other amazingly fit women, but it was an amazing moment. And I remember watching it, and I remember thinking, well, yeah, I kind of want to do that. You know, that would be fun. That looks fun, you know? And this is in and around the time that I have this conversation. Probably just after this time, I'm having this conversation with actually her husband, Jerry Smith. And he tells me there are a few people that you can tell have it. And then there are a few people that you can tell that have it and aren't putting in all the effort that they need to in order to get to that next level. He said, you've got it. And if you just work on getting 100% fit and making it a lifestyle, you will be on the women's national team, the full team, and you'll have a career. And it was the first time he had said anything like that to me, and it was the first time somebody had said something like that to me, and it was the first time I believed him and believed anybody. And that's where it's hard, because it's like not studying for a test and then failing, being like, oh, well, I didn't study, you know? And so I was left with this option of really trying and facing myself with maybe not succeeding, even if I give it my very best effort. And I think that that's a trivial and a very common thing that people go through every single day, that they're afraid to really give it their all because they're afraid to fail. And also, on the opposite side of it, they're afraid to give it their all because they're afraid to succeed. They don't know what that'll be like either.
I think it's a good time to talk about this quote we have on the wall. It's a heavy burden to look up at the mountain and want to start the climb. Is that when the climb really kind of started for you?
It is, and I think that that quote, it encapsulates so much, and I'm pretty in touch with who I am and with my emotions, and it takes courage to know what you are about to go accomplish or try to accomplish. And it takes courage because you have no idea of what the outcome is. You know, half the anxiety about playing in a world championship, World Cup or Olympics, whatever it is I just want to know what's going to happen. You know, and that's why sports is so encapsulating and it just gets inside people. It drives and moves people. It entertains people. Because you don't know what's going to happen.
You're known for the header.
Yeah.
And I talked to your high school coach. She said that you did work at this header. She said after practice.
A lot.
That was your thing. You knew that early.
Well, think about this. And I wonder if it's because when I was growing up, I saw my brothers and sisters doing things, right? They were swimming, lacrosse, soccer, basketball, whatever it was. I needed to do something different to make myself seen. And a header, a diving header, is something that not many people were able or capable of doing or wanted to do or knew how to do. So I always tried to tweak, and I still do it to this day, tweak something to make it uniquely my own. And it's probably because I want a little bit more attention from my mom and dad or my parents or whatever.
Right.
But I enjoyed it, you know, and there are so many parts of the game of soccer that are brutal, like running. It's brutal to be fit. It's brutal because it's the hardest form of fitness, you know. You have to be able to have a really deep cardiovascular base, but you also have to be able to call on your body to do sprints quickly, one after the other. So it's the whole anaerobic and aerobic systems that have to be in complete symbiosis with each other, and it's not easy. So that was my least favorite part of the game. So I had to find things in and around the game that were my most fun, and heading the ball was the most fun.
Okay, so the college career is over, and you're drafted by the Washington Freedom. I think second overall?
Yeah,
What was that all about?
Well, you always want to go first in any draft, right? As an athlete, but it actually ended up being the blessing of my life, because I was able to go and get drafted to the Washington Freedom, and that's where Mia Hamm was playing.
Didn't you have a Mia poster on your wall as a kid?
I still actually have a Mia poster.
She's on your screensaver.
In my parents' there's a shrine in my old bedroom at my parents' house, and I think that picture is actually still up on the wall. I'm not kidding.
How great is it to not only meet, but to play with your idol?
It was a dream. And back in 2002 and 2003, when we were playing on this Freedom team, you know, I was dirt poor. I could barely afford my own apartment.
I mean, there's not a lot of money in the
exactly.
women's game.
In the former league, there really wasn't. And, you know, after I got out of college, my dad handed me this credit card bill. And I was like, well, what is that? You know, you didn't pay for my college. And he's like, well, you didn't think I was going to pay for your partying, did you? I'm like, So I literally had no money for a couple of years after college, and overdrafted quite a bit. But that's part of it, you know, that's part of life. And I was still so happy because I got to go to work and play soccer every single day.
And then shift to the national team.
And then shift to the national team. And then when I got on the national team, I remember getting that first check in the mail and being like, what? Like, I'm just completely shocked. And it was like $2,000 or something. I can't even remember exactly what it was. But
you were filthy rich at that point.
I mean, I had hit the lottery, you know? Like, that's how I felt. And that's why I think that time of my life is so special, because I really did stop and smell the roses, because it's easy to have gone through so many years and forget about those little things, those little intangibles, especially when you become a leader and you have to think more broadly and have the bigger picture in mind, rather than like, oh my gosh, I just played on the national team for the first time and Mia yelled at me for the entire 18 minutes that I was on the field, but I don't care, I was good, you know. And I think that's why we work so well, is because she knew she could be straight with me. She knew I had thick skin, the youngest of 7. She could say anything to me, and I would, yes, okay, like whatever I can do to help, you know. And it ended up really working out. I made the 2003 World Cup roster, started and played and scored a bunch of goals in that tournament. Unfortunately, we didn't win that tournament.
But let's not gloss over that. I mean,
yeah.
Mia and the rest of a nice core had won it in '99. Now you're there in 2003 and you lose. What was that like?
Yeah, I thought it was my fault.
I've read that.
Yeah, I actually do think it was my fault.
Against Germany?
Yeah, I was marking Gareth Frekis. I'll never forget.
Which is defending.
Yeah. So it was a corner kick. The Germans had a corner kick. We were in Portland, Oregon, and the scouting report for our team was that Gareth Frekis always went to the back post, and so she was my mark. I was a taller player. She's the tallest player, and all she was doing was standing on the front post, meaning the first post. So I was like, I asked Julie, my captain, I'm like, what do I do, you know, in this moment? And she's just like, just stay there, do, you know. And I was like, all right. Ball goes right to this girl's head, goes in the goal, and they're up 1-0. And we were never able to score a goal. And so I felt like I let them down. I felt like,
if not for that one goal, the rest of the strategy changes.
Exactly. And it's very much like it's very different than other sports, that the one goal changes like your complete tactics.
So you got to be running around on that pitch the rest of the game thinking, this is on me.
Yeah. I just think that I've let my idols down, you know. I remember being so sick and feeling so heartbroken because of the responsibility that I wanted to take on. You know, I don't want to shy away from making a mistake, you know, and I don't want to be afraid of the feelings that come with that, because I think so often we, as a population, we start pointing fingers in every place but where we should, and it's this way. I have to take care of myself. I have to be accountable for the things that I'm accountable for. And I was accountable for that play, and that's something that is important.
So the first try at a World Cup,
Bad.
no good.
Bad.
Next year, Olympics.
Yeah.
What was that like?
I knew it was the quote-unquote 99ers is what we call them. We called them on the team. It was Mia and Julie and Brandy and Joy Fawcett. They were all playing, but you could tell that this was going to be their last hurrah. And so, of course, after feeling responsible for the 2003 World Cup loss, going to Athens in 2004, I was as prepared as I possibly could have been for almost maybe any tournament. I was in my peak physical shape, mentally, physically, emotionally, and I was not going to leave Greece without a gold medal for those women.
Let's take a look.
Drives it. Far side. Headed by Wambach. And Wambach has scored! USA have won the gold medal.
So there's the first one.
Well, you know, it was amazing because the whole game, this defender she just was defending me perfectly. She was just just as tall as I was. She just had my number, so to speak. And it was just this corner kick in overtime, and Christine Lilly sends in a perfect ball, and I head the ball in. It goes over her head, and it goes in the goal, and I just feel complete redemption because I was able to let those women go out on top, and they have done so much for the game and for me personally. And I remember it was really fun because, of course, all the cameras, they wanted Mia and Brandy to talk, and they kept asking for me, and I just like wanted to be in the background, you know. I wanted them.
You had the game-winning goal in the gold medal game.
I know, and I wanted them to experience this because I knew that this would be their last time as the champions, and being on that top podium and feeling and experiencing that, and that is the truth. And I'm proud to have been able to be a part of this team and to help them go out on top.
I would venture to say that everybody in this audience or anybody at home has kicked a soccer ball. The idea of tracking a ball through the air and angling your body and your head within your body to then redirect the ball into the net is fascinating to me. Let's take a look at some of the headers through your career.
Cheney into O'Hara. The cross is in towards Wambach. It's two. Abby doubles up.
Spots the run of Alex Morgan. Deflected cross to the back post. It's the opening goal. Has a look up. Who's will she try and find here? Cross to the back post. There's the moment. And it's been coming. Back on home turf.
There's a real physicality to that too. That's not the finesse game. Maybe it's a kind of a finesse move, but there you see you diving toward a goalpost. You see there's a physical nature to that just looks different.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people are like, why would you ever want to head a soccer ball? Like there's nothing in my being like that's scared of that, but I get it that it seems a little bit insane that you're gonna head something and impact your brain. But I've been doing it for so long, and I've have such technique, and I do it in such a courageous way that that's why I think people get injured, and that's why I think people have this huge concussion discussion now, because it's a talent. It's a unique talent. And if you think about it, the longer the ball comes and has to come down to the ground, the more time a defender has to clear it. But if the ball never has to drop down to the ground and you can use your head, that's more time for you as a forward to be able to attack it, harder for a goalkeeper to determine where it's going to traject off of your head. And it's more fun when you can like dive and do something. But I'm telling you, the only reason why I've been as good as I am in the game of soccer is because I played basketball. And I was a small forward, and you know, it's playing basketball, I learned how to jump. You know, I jump fairly high. And it's something that I've thought about a lot, because I think that one sport athletes at 9 years old is crazy. I think you need to have your kids in multiple sports. I think that that's super important. Most kids don't want to play one sport for the entire year. There's very few kids that will want that. Parents are forcing that because they're afraid that their kid is going to be left behind. But I'm telling you, I learned how to jump. I learned how to read the trajectory of a ball. I learned how the flight path of a ball. I learned those things, and I would not have scored as many goals in playing soccer with my head if I had not played basketball. That is a fact.
Try 2 at a World Cup, 2007. You've lost in 2003. What's different for you going into 2007, having lost before?
I think 2007, the team was more or less handed over to me. Christine Lilly was on the team, who was our captain, but it was my job to score goals. It was my job to lead our team in scoring goals, and we didn't have a great game against Brazil.
You want to see the video of it?
In the quarterfinals, no. I really hate that game.
Let's roll the video.
Night for the United States, a great night for Brazil. The game is still going on, though. Brazilian players thought it was over. Now it is over. Brazil are going to the final.
What's that like, that moment when you're walking off the field and you're watching the Brazilians?
I wanted to disappear. I was as embarrassed as I have ever been in my life, that game. I will never.
Embarrassed? I don't hear athletes, pro, amateur, really use the word embarrassed very often.
Yeah, I was embarrassed for my country. It was an embarrassment. It was 4-0. Granted, there were a lot of things that happened during that game that I could argue and dispute over, but that's sports. You can't go back and make excuses. 4-0 was an embarrassment, and for me to feel again, you know, now this is my team, now this is my time, and to get not just beaten, but thumped. It was the worst loss that we've ever had, and it was in a World Cup. And I can remember wanting to get subbed off the field.
You wanted out?
During the end of the game. But I would never do that because I deserved the embarrassment. I deserved that accountability. I deserved to be seen, and I don't know, and that was a character building time for me, and it was a hard time, but you know, something that I think I learned a lot from.
Where did that take you after that? If you're that embarrassed, what follows that for you personally?
Yeah, I get uber fit. You know, I go after it, because the following year we've got another Olympics, and you know, we don't forget. So after that 2007 World Cup, this is actually a cool story. I don't know why FIFA does this, but the teams stay in the same hotel. The two competing teams stay in the same hotel.
Seems like a recipe for trouble.
It was a recipe for disaster. Because of course, like, Brazilians are just very flamboyant and they're loud and they're fun and they're beating their drums and they're, you know, where we are like stoic and serious and like, we got to go do this. Let's go, you know?
You're talking about even before the match.
Yeah. Before the match, they're beating their drums. They're like loud and, you know, and in my opinion, we are just serious. We're in the serious like game face mode. Well, after we lost, we get back to the hotel and all of our parents were in the lobby waiting to console us because we were all devastated. And here they come. You know the roundabout doors?
Yeah.
They got every single player in their team. We're all in the lobby. Every single player in their team in the roundabout doors with the drums, with the music playing. And they went round and 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 celebrated in front of us. So none of us forgot that. Our training that next year was pretty intense, and 5 days before we were supposed to get on the flight, we're playing Brazil.
And
I fracture my tib and my fib.
you're basically on your way to the Olympics and you're out.
5 days. So we were going to leave this game, go home for 4 days, and then meet in San Francisco and fly to China.
So you miss it. Were you there?
No, you can't fly because of deep vein thrombosis. You can't fly after surgery.
Did you watch?
I watched every second. I watched every second. And I think it was a really cool thing for me, not only for my mortality, that I was not actually invincible, but that my team can win without me. So it allowed me to get more in touch with who I was and more in touch with my ego and my like self, that I am actually not all that important. One person doesn't make anything great. It's about the collective.
Okay, if you think that Abby is tough, I'm going to show you a video. It's against Mexico.
Yeah.
Here's Abby and her toughness. That's in the 2011 World Cup. That is a stapler.
That actually was not the World Cup. That was the qualifying tournament.
It was the qualifier leading into the World Cup.
And I don't know if you guys saw the score line, but we were losing 2-1. It was in the 90th minute. And if we don't win that game, we don't qualify for the World Cup. So that is all I cared about. I was like, get me on the field.
So you're pleading right there to stay in the game.
Yes. I'm like, let's go. Wrap me up. Let's go. You know, like the adrenaline. I just wanted to win. I wanted to tie the game. And if I'm on the field, I feel like we're going to have a better chance of scoring a goal.
Do you look at that? I can't watch that, and that's not my head. But that's like something out of Office Depot that is trying to keep you in the game.
I know. Well, actually, it was funny because a few weeks later, my college coach texted me and she said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that the Florida football coach, Urban Meyer, showed that to all of his guys. This is what a Florida Gator does, you know? This is back when he was the coach there."
Okay, so I referenced one of the greatest sports plays I've ever seen. I know you know exactly what I'm going to lead.
I know what you're talking about.
It is so flippin' great, this play.
So we're about to lose. It's the end of the game against, yet again,
your friends.
Brazil. And we're in Germany. We're in Dresden, Germany, and they start to waste time. Towards the end of the second overtime, they start to waste time, and they're going down, and they're faking injuries, and they're getting carted off and on a stretcher, and literally jumping off the stretcher to get back on the field.
All the while, the clock is
the clock is ticking, but the referee knows this, and we're about to lose. We're seconds away from the referee blowing her whistle. Ball is on the end line. My captain and center back, I think, maybe fouls a Brazilian to get the ball, but that's up for debate. She ends up passing it to Allie Krieger, who then passes it to Carly Lloyd, who then takes, in my opinion, far too many touches in the middle of the field at the time. And she kicked it to Megan Rapinoe, who was basically at the midfield, mid-stripe is what we call it, on the sideline. And to be honest, you know, Megan and I, we have always played well together. We've always had a connection on the field. And I knew that she was just going to kick the snot out of the ball. I knew it.
You knew she was going to find you.
I knew it.
And she knew you were waiting for it.
And she knew I was there.
Okay, well, let's take a look.
Good celebration.
That gives me chills watching that.
Inches.
That ties the game. You win in penalty kicks, and then this has got to be it, right?
Yeah.
You can't score that goal at that time and think we're not meant to win this thing.
Yeah, and after that, you know, everybody kind of, we were like, yeah, this is it. This is our year. You know, and it's not like we were overconfident by any means, but you can just get a sense, you get a feel, and
then you meet Japan.
And then Japan shows up, and you know, sports is a funny thing, and they deserve to win that game, obviously, because they're the champions from 2011, and you know, I think for their country they needed it after the tsunami, and it was something that I just remember that last kick and them winning and just being like, if I was going to lose to any team, this would be the team, because they played really great soccer and they're a great soccer team.
So at this point, do you think you're ever going to win a World Cup?
No. Honestly, I was beside myself after this one, because it was ours. It was ours for the taking. And you know, if we were to have won that World Cup, I think I would have retired back then. You know, 30, 31, 32 maybe, after the London Olympics, retire and walk off into the sunset. But God, I hate losing. I do. I'm such a competitor, and I couldn't reconcile the fact with not having a world championship, a World Cup trophy. I couldn't do it to the people who have stuck by me, to my family, and to the fans, because that game, the Brazil game, ignited something inside people in this country about women's soccer again, and I had to see it through. I had to see it through.
So you win a gold the next year in the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And this is not to diminish that at all. I know how much that means to you, but there's that annoyance of the World Cup that you just can't get.
Well, the thing is that people ask me this all the time, like, what's the difference between the Olympics and the World Cup?
Why does it seem like the World Cup means more?
Because it's uniquely just ours, A. B, there's more teams, so it's harder. C, it's a little bit longer, and you're not competing with all the other athletes that compete in the Olympics. It's just yours. It's a very rare time for a women's athlete that the spotlight shines as bright as it does. Gold medals are awesome from the Olympics. I'm not taking I'm not going to give you my medals, that's for sure. But there's something different about the World Cup. And I'm so proud to have been able to wear our country's crest for so many years. You know, our country is great, and I think there's really no bigger pride than playing for your country and then being able to become a world champion for your countrymen.
In 2013, you become the all-time international scoring leader, breaking the record of
Mia
Hamm.
Mm-hmm.
So this player who was on the poster on your wall, who you played with professionally and who took you under her wing, now you break her record for goals scored internationally. What was that like?
Was
it a goal? Was it out there for you? I kind of feel like knowing you now that it was.
Well, here's the deal. I wanted to score as many goals as I possibly could. I never set out to break a record. And I remember having a conversation with her many years ago before I did. I was just like, it was when she was playing. I was like, I mean, you have scored so many goals. Like, how, like, nobody will ever come close to breaking your record. And she looked at me and she's like, yes, you will. Just like very matter-of-factly. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was just...
It says something about her, though.
Yeah. If you truly want to better your sport and leave it better than you found it, you want somebody to break your records. You want to create as much growth as possible. Records do that. But you don't want those records to stand, because you want to make sure that the growth that you create makes that next generation grow the game even more. And if the next generation grows the game even more, those records are going to be broken and are meant to be broken.
This past World Cup took this country by storm. I mean, it was incredible. But for you personally, now you've missed 3 times in the World Cup. The first one you thought was your fault. And then it's your team and you don't win, and you come so close the previous time in 2011. Now, here we are, 2015. Let's take a watch. Can you put words to that? Relief, joy?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of, in the moment, a lot of relief. I don't know if you saw me, but I was trying to get the referee to blow the whistle. All I keep thinking about is that state championship game in 1997. But it was a great moment, and I'm so proud that this team was able to win in that way. It was pretty remarkable.
Higher ratings than the men's.
It was the highest rated soccer game ever in the United States.
I mean, there's got to be some satisfaction in that for you.
Yeah, I mean, that gives us a little bit of leverage going back to U.S. Soccer for our next contracts, that's for sure.
We saw that nice moment at the end where you kissed your wife. Mm-hmm. What has that relationship meant to you?
Yeah, I was just planning to go give her a hug, and then she was like, kiss me, and I'm like, okay, that's what you do when you just won a World Cup. You want to kiss the person that you are with and have been with, and honestly, if you knew me at all, like, that is not something that I thought would ever go viral or become something. I'm not the kind of person that wants to shout my personal life from the rooftops or to create some sort of thing. But yeah, like, hell yeah, I'm gonna kiss my wife after I become a world champion. Why not?
And growing up in that big Catholic family back in New York, how has she been welcomed into your family?
Oh, big time. Everybody loves Sarah, and it's definitely been something that has progressed throughout the years with me and my mom and my relationship with my mom, because she has values and morals, and I respect that, And I think education and educating people about things is the most important thing. You can have an opinion. You can like it or not. But the most important thing to me is that we at least talk. We at least talk about it. And Sarah is a part of the family, and I'm the luckiest. She's the best, and I'm so proud that that moment happened, because I do know, without any intention, I know that it helped maybe somebody become a little bit more comfortable inside themselves.
So we showed this quote: "It's a heavy burden to look up at the mountain and want to start the climb." I'm not saying the climb's over, but you can at least see the peak. After winning the World Cup, you become you go from this youngest of 7, picked on little kid, playing with the boys, working after practice, being spurred on by coaches to get serious about how great you can be. And then you win the World Cup and you become one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. What a climb that's been.
Well, I definitely don't believe that.
You don't believe you're one of the 100 most?
I actually thought my agent was playing a joke on me. I thought he was pranking me. I'm like, all right, this is not funny. He was like, I'm serious.
Do better than this.
I'm serious. You've been nominated or named one of the most influential people in Time Magazine. And it's an honor, obviously. I'll take it. But, you know, I really am conscious of the fact that because of how good I am on the soccer field has nothing to do with who I am off of it in terms of me being a good person. It's something that you have to earn every single day, grow and learn every single day.
Well done. What's next for you?
Gosh, you know, the mountain is symbolic in that, yeah, soccer has been what felt like Mount McKinley, Mount Everest, but this is not my swan song. Soccer will not be the only thing that I'm good at, not the only thing that I love or am passionate about, but I hope the impact that I can have after my career can be even bigger, and there will be more mountains for me to climb.
I hold in my hand 5 absolutely ridiculous fun questions.
Fun.
They are
I like to have fun.
Oh, I know.
So.
Here we go. Would you rather have mittens on your hands for the rest of your life or rollerblades on your feet?
I'll take the mittens.
You'll go with mittens?
Yeah.
And walk or run?
Yeah.
I mean, it's soccer, for God's sake. You don't need your hands.
Right. Well, the thing is I would want to drive in a car, and that would be really hard with rollerblades and stuff.
You can drive with mittens.
Yeah.
You've done...
Or you could just rollerblade everywhere.
Right, you could. Would you rather go back in time and meet your ancestors or forward in time and meet your great-grandchildren?
I think I'd probably go back in time. I would love to meet the people that came before me and my family. I would love to know what they looked like. I would love to know what they did. I would love to know how they talked, you know, like.
Wouldn't you love to meet them as an adult?
Yeah.
You as an adult and them as an adult.
Yeah, I'll go backwards.
Would you rather have a tail like a squirrel or have ears like a bunny?
I would do the tail because you could hide that under your pants.
Well, since it's like a fluffy squirrel tail.
Yeah, you could do.
It's not like a dragon tail.
Yeah, it's true. Fluffy, and you could probably shave it down. You could do some stuff.
Would you rather be able to read or be able to read minds but be illiterate?
Read minds.
Really? Mm-hmm. Okay. What am I thinking right now?
I would rather that. That doesn't mean I have that ability.
Just getting a jump, see if you're climbing that mountain right now. Final. Would you rather have mayonnaise for dessert or ice cream on your tuna fish sandwich?
Okay, this is actually going to be a funny answer. So there are 3 things in my life that I will never give up in terms of a diet. Number 1, butter. Number 2, mayo.
Okay.
And number 3, what is it? Well, how am I not remembering this? This is ridiculous. Cheese, that's the other one.
Cheese.
Butter, mayo, and cheese.
I'm sensing like a dairy
Yeah,
thing.
never give up those.
You are not lactose intolerant.
Yes, no, I'm not. But mayo, to answer that question.
This has been a pleasure. This has been fun, and I hope you've had as much fun as I know they've had. This is a World Cup and Olympic champion, Abby Wambach.
Thank you.
That was great. Great job.
You too. Thanks, guys.